What's up, everybody? Back again. Your football nerd. I am back with my NFC predictions, record by record. And in such a sophisticated and fancy way, I am doing these picks live from my car because I said, what the heck, the games are first game's later, a little bit later tonight, and I said, might as well just get this out of the way, and I'm stuck in traffic like I always am on my way home, so yeah, first one I did from the parking lot in my car, and this one I'm doing driving home in my car in traffic. So, I'm going to kind of do the same thing as I did last time, go division by division, North, South, East, West, NFC, records, predictions, and kind of give you kind of an idea of why I picked those records for those teams. So, and then at the end I'll do my NFC playoff seedings, and I'll just do the whole rest of the playoffs within this video too. Do go ahead and do the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, NFC North, we have Chicago at 6-10, Detroit at 7-9, and Green Bay and Minnesota both with 11-5 record. And the winner of this division, I have the Packers because of tiebreakers. I actually have them splitting with Minnesota, but their record as far as common opponents, their division record is the same. I have it the same too, so it goes to common opponents, and that the Packers have that tiebreaker, so they win the division. But anyway, so Chicago 6-10. This one's interesting because of the whole Mac trade and all that. Their defense I think is really good already. I think it's going to be even better. In the following years, they just have a really young defense, but I just think they're going to get better and better. Obviously, Mac helps that, and he's still young too, so their defense is going to be very strong. That's why, you could even say that'd be 7-9. I don't think 7-9 would be crazy. They won, I think, 5 games last year. The only thing, and again, I know I did this a lot in the last video, but the only thing that makes me question them is Trubisky. I don't know about him, especially because last year he played a lot of the season. I don't think it was the whole season. He played most of the season, and he only threw 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. I know he was a rookie, but that's just kind of, I don't know. I want to see better numbers than that from a rookie, that's supposed to be the guy that was the number 2 pick in the draft. So, I don't know. It's really going to ride on him. The defense is going to be good, and that'll win him games. But, man, if he plays the same way he did last year, or he's just a little better but not, like, huge improvements, I don't see how this team can make a big leap like some people are saying they could. But, if he has a breakout season, this team could be in playoff contention. Their defense is that good. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting team to watch, see how their defense kind of develops this year, see if Trubisky develops anymore. Obviously, Howard's a beast at running back. They got some nice weapons now for Trubisky as far as Robinson. Got White back healthy again, so it'll be interesting to see what they do as far as that goes. Oh, and also Trey Burton, a tight end. That's an underrated pickup too. So now we'll go to the Lions, who I have at 7-9. This is I really don't mind the Lions at all. As a Packers fan, they're the only team that I really don't mind in the NFC North. I don't know. They're like the same team every year. Like it's like they have no run game. Stafford is good, but not quite good enough, and their defense is meh. Like it's so odd. They're literally I feel like sometimes they make pretty good upgrades in the offseason, and they just do like the same thing every year. And you can say it's because of coaching, defense. I don't know, but I know that, they got rid of Caldwell and everything, and that's another reason why it's kind of 7-9. It's kind of an iffy pick for them because of their new coach. I mean, I just don't know how I really feel about Matt Patricia as a coach, a head coach. It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously Stafford's still going to be great, but, he'll be Stafford where, yes, he can win you some games in the fourth, but he can also throw some picks and lose you some games in the fourth. So, it's just they hover around the same thing every year. And, I mean, it's just tough for them to, until they really show me something. I know they've had some playoff seasons with Stafford, but until they really show me something, it's going to be tough to pick them anything better than that. Their defense just really has to show up. I mean, they obviously have talent on defense. They have Slay and Ziggy Ansah, and their linebacking core is one of the best in the NFL, but they just, I don't know, they just can't get it together and string enough wins together to get to a playoff contention. Well, they're usually in playoff contention, but then they kind of fall off at the end. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I see them doing the same thing they usually do, They pick up a few good wins, and then they lose to teams they shouldn't lose to, and, they get in shootouts and lose. So, yeah, I got to go 7-9 there. Minnesota, 11-5, their defense is obviously great. I mean, it's even better. They got a few more people to add to their defense. Not necessarily superstars, but, depth guys and a few starters that are going to just make them even better, and they're just, their defense is stacked. I mean, they're so good. And obviously the Kirk Cousins pickup is what everyone's wondering about. I think they're going to be good. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be really good. I mean, I could honestly see him beating the Packers for the division. And I didn't pick the Packers just because, I'm a homer. I really looked at their schedule and everything. I'm going to get into that in a second. But I just, the Vikings, I mean, they're just, Cook's back. If he can stay healthy, their running game's going to be amazing. Murray, obviously, as a backup. Kirk Cousins is just a big question, but, a lot of people don't really have faith in him. I have faith. I liked him in Washington. I think he's a good quarterback. He's not elite, I don't even know if you could really call him, like, upper echelon necessarily, but, I mean, he's on the cusp of that. He's just, I think he's a really good quarterback, and people don't really give him enough credit, I don't think. And he has, he has weapons. He has Thielen and Diggs. I mean, that's going to be great for him to have some good weapons, running game, defense. So, I mean, they're going to be a great team. So, I can honestly see him easily, like I said, winning the division. It's going to be close, I feel like, which kind of brings me to the Packers just because they have Aaron Rodgers back. They go from, a below-average team to one of the best teams in the NFL with Rodgers. I mean, it's as simple as that. He's a great quarterback, and I'm going to try to sit here and not be a homer about it. But honestly, I really do think that they're, any team with an elite quarterback. I don't care if it's the team that I can't stand the most, like someone like the Patriots. They're going to be in contention. They're going to be in contention. I don't care who it is. If you have an elite quarterback, you're going to be in contention for a playoff spot or a Super Bowl. I mean, it's as simple as that. So you got somebody like Rodgers back, that's obviously going to help. But, however, it's going to be even better this year for him because he has running backs going into their second year with Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has spent first couple games, but when he comes back, they're going to be a great three-headed monster because they also have Ty Montgomery, who's pretty good too. Then you have your receivers. I mean, Devontae, that's the only kind of thing where I'm like, I don't know yet, because obviously you have Cobb and Adams who are established, but then you have Geronimo Allison, who's a good compliment. I think he's a good player, but it's going to be interesting to see him shoulder the third receiver burden because he really hasn't had to do that very often in his career so far. But he's a young player, and he's a good player, so we'll see how that works out. But, I mean, they're huge. Obviously, Jimmy Graham on offense is huge. Like, I don't care what everyone says about his numbers when he was with Seattle. If you watched it, they didn't use him right. And you don't even have to be a guru for that. Not like I'm like some play-calling guru or anything, but you don't have to be, a rocket scientist to understand they didn't use him right. And he can't block, but yet they used him to block. and they didn't use him, they didn't throw to him. They didn't really give him the ball. I mean, but when they did, I mean, he scored in the red zone. Like last year, he had a huge resurgence at the end of the season. I mean, he had like 6 touchdowns in the last however many games. Like, so he's still a good player. I don't get why everyone's so. I understand he's older and he hasn't been as productive, but I mean, when you have Drew Brees throwing you the ball, you're going to be really productive. I mean, and Russell Wilson's great, but Drew Brees, I mean, that offense is, was way more pass-centric. So, I think that's a huge pickup for Rodgers because they haven't had a tight end since legit tight end. I mean, Jared Cook was pretty good, but he was only there for a season. He was hit or miss. They haven't had a legit tight end since Jermichael Finley, and I mean that was like 5 years ago. So it's going to be interesting, and also with Kendricks as a backup tight end and Mercedes Lewis. I mean, their tight end group is pretty good in my opinion. So we'll see. I think their offense is going to be good like it usually is. Defense, though, that's going to be their biggest, you could say question mark, obviously, because they haven't played a game yet, but I think they're going to be a lot better, and that's all Rodgers really needs for this team to just excel and be even better. Getting rid of Dom Capers was the best thing that the Packers ever could have done. He was great in his first couple seasons, but I mean, he just got so predictable and just didn't use good packages in certain situations. It was just burnt out. His time to go was like 4 years ago. But of course they kept him, and they struggled on defense. And, it's just frustrating to me because I think that they have a lot of defensive talent, honestly. They have Mike Daniels, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Clay Matthews, obviously, I mean, he's kind of downward spiral on his career now, but I still, he's still a good, respectable player, pass rush player. You still have to somewhat watch out for. Nick Perry is okay. I mean, excuse me, paired with Clay Matthews, that's a decent tandem, Their linebackers are kind of weak, but they play a 3-4 with Clay and Perry as outside guys. So linebackers don't matter as much. Safeties, Clinton Dix obviously is one of the best. Other safety, Bryce I think is going to be, maybe Josh Jones will be the starter. But I mean Josh Jones, he's pretty good. He's a second-year player, but he's more of a utility guy. They switch him around. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that other safety spot. And then the corners are going to be the biggest thing this year. They are, in my opinion, stacked with young corners. Now, we don't know if they're going to be good, but it seems like they're going to be pretty good, with Jackson and Alexander as the 2 rookies, and then King coming back healthy, hopefully, this year. I think they're great at corner. And, I mean, Tramon Williams, he's a lot slower, and he's older now, second stint with the Packers, but he's the veteran on the team. He still knows what he's doing. He can still get in certain situations and be a great cover corner. So that'll be really interesting for defense. I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to be really good this season. I mean, they were playing really well last season with a so-so defense until Rodgers got hurt. So it'll be interesting, and they don't have that. I know I keep saying this too, but I think it somewhat matters for certain teams, especially in the NFC. They don't have a first-place schedule, so they don't have to play. They have to play the Rams because they're in the playing the West, but they don't have to play like the. Who is it? Let me see here. The New Orleanses of the world, and the let's see, the Philadelphias of the world. They don't have to play those teams because they didn't have that first place schedule. So I think that helps them a lot too. So that's kind of why I have them where they are. As far as their record. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the NFC North. So, we'll go to the NFC South. I have... Hold on here. I have Atlanta at 12-4, Carolina at 8-8, New Orleans at 10-6, Tampa Bay 3-13. So Atlanta, I think they're going to have a huge resurgence this year. One of the main reasons being their coordinator has now been there for 2 years, or this is his second year, and I think they're really going to start to gel more because he was kind of garbage last year. But I think they're going to kind of gel more this year. You know, they've been in the system now for a year. They're going to start working with Julio Jones more, you know, get him more involved. Sanu, hopefully, because he should be more involved. Freeman and Coleman, obviously, are both really good running backs. So I think they're all, I don't know if it'll go back to his MVP year offense, but I think they're going to go back to being a really, really good offense. And I have them winning the division, obviously, 12-4 with the best record in the division. But I just think they're going to be a lot better on offense. And, I mean, that's where they really needed to improve last year, which is interesting because their defense isn't great, but it's a solid defense, and they have some good players, young guys, so especially like rushers and everything. So I think they'll be better this year. I think they'll be, a lot better. Heck, when they played Philadelphia last year, they almost beat them. I mean, they were on inside the 10-yard line at the end of the game. I mean, you know, they get a touchdown right there, they're going to the NFC Championship. So they're still a great team to be reckoned with. You know, I feel like not as many people are talking about them because of the whole Saints thing last year, which is understandable, but I just think they're going to make a huge, huge leap this year again and go back to their former selves or close to it. So Carolina, I don't know. This is kind of a product of them being in this division. It's tough. It's one of the best divisions again, South, as far as Carolina, Atlanta, and New Orleans are concerned. I mean, again, it's going to be kind of like the AFC West I was talking about. Honestly, a lot of divisions in the NFC are like this year. They're going to be beating the crap out of each other. I mean, the NFC is so good. I mean, there's so many good teams in the NFC, and that's why it's so tough to make these predictions for the really for the whole NFL, because I think there's going to be a lot of good parity this year, kind of like last year. But the NFC, I mean, there are so many good teams in the NFC, so many good players in the NFC, so it's really hard to pick. I mean, that's why some teams like Carolina, I mean, they're a good team. They have a really good defense, really good offense. You know, receiver DJ Moore, I think he's a sleeper. I think he's going to be good this year for them because after Funchess, they really don't have anybody. So him and obviously Olsen's still going to be good. And then McCaffrey, obviously. But, I mean, they're a good team. Their defense, obviously, still good with the guys they got. Kuechly's obviously always going to be one of the best. But they play so many good teams, you know, just within their division, and then they're playing, you know, the good teams outside of their division. So I don't know. I ended up at them with 8-8, so it's tough. I mean, kind of the way I did these records, like I go game by game, win or loss. So what I kind of do is I go through them one time, and after I'm done with every single team and I have their record, I do a little tweaking. But I do a little bit because once I start picking one game and switching it over, I'm like, oh, man, I feel like this team's going to be a lot better. Then it makes me want to switch like 5 other games for other teams, and I have to switch records around. So I kind of try to stick to what I mainly had the team at first. Give or take 1, maybe 2 games. Not very, very rarely 2 games would I switch them. So that's kind of how I got to 8-8. I mean, I got to the end of their schedule, looked and counted them up, 8-8. I mean, and I tried to look for games to change. That's what I do for every team. And in my gut, I just wasn't seeing any. I just was not seeing any games. So, you know, I went with 8-8 for them. New Orleans at 10-6. Now, this one was interesting and weird for me because I'm a huge fan of New Orleans team in general. Obviously, Kamara and Ingram, the 1-2 punch. Breeze, Hall of Famer. Michael Thomas at receiver. They're always going to be good on offense with Breeze. I mean, that's just a given. And Kamara is going to be good again. Ingram's going to be good when he comes back from suspension. But they're just, I mean, you look at their team and their defense is obviously what got them to the playoffs last year, and that's how they were so good. And obviously they were, the whole play away from the NFC Championship, Minnesota Miracle, blah, blah, blah. And I think they might, I don't know if they would have, but they might have beaten the Eagles in that NFC Championship. They sure as heck would have given them a better game. I know that much. With Breeze, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been there, done that before. He would have been, he was killing it at the end of that Vikings game. He did everything he needed to do. They came back and took the lead and just, screwed it up on the last play, and that's just, it's unfortunate, but that's what happens in football. That's why we love it so much. But it just sucks because, Breeze he did everything in his power. And as a guy who loves quarterbacks who have never had as much help around him as they should have had, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys, I hate to see these quarterbacks that don't get help around them when they're generational talents. And they got them help last year, and that's why they were so good. And I think they're going to be good again this year, but again, it's the whole division thing. And the first place schedule thing. They're playing the Rams. I think they're at the Rams. They're playing Minnesota. That's a tough game. They may, I think I have them winning that game, but that could be an either way game. They're playing, let's see who else, Philadelphia. Obviously a tough game. So, it's tough. It's a tough schedule. And then within their division, once again, beating the crap out of each other. I have them at 10-6. And that's one where it can go up a couple games, obviously, because of how talented they are. But it's tough. It's a tough division to pick. It's a tough NFC. But, that's why picks are fun. You gotta kind of have your own take on everything and not just pick what everyone else is picking. I know some of the stuff I picked is what everyone's picking, but I also have things like the Colts where it's like, holy crap, how are they in there? But you just, that's why your own picks are your own picks. You have your reasons behind them. You got to make your picks with conviction, and you got to be confident in them. And we're all probably going to be wrong at the end of the season, but who cares? That's why this kind of stuff is really fun, and you get to hear other people's insights on it too. I like watching other picks of other people just to see what their insights are on certain teams and see what they say about them. And certain people, have better ideas of certain teams because they watch them. So, it's always interesting. So that's kind of why, that's why I have them 10-6. And then Tampa Bay, man, I don't know. They're just not very talented. They have a few talented guys here and there, but they just don't get it together. They're kind of like Tennessee. They're not as bad as Tennessee's way better than them, but they're that same kind of team for me. They just never put it all together. A couple years ago, I had them going, I think it was last year, I had them going 10-6. They were the hot pick for a lot of people, and I honestly thought they were good. Like, I thought they were going to go, around 10-6. Wild fringe of the wild card. They have all this talent. Jameis Winston's playing better. And then it just all goes down the toilet. Jameis Winston has his whole thing, and, who knows if he's even going to be their future quarterback anymore. He's got to prove a lot this season. It's a very important season for him. So, and I honestly thought he was going to be a pretty good quarterback, and he has his flashes and moments, but he's got to be smarter. He's got to be smarter. You can't be an idiot when you're playing in the NFL, in any sport. You can't be an idiot. You can't be a knucklehead, man. You got to be smart. But they have a tough schedule. They have a tough schedule and not enough talent to overcome it. And I just could not see them winning a lot of games. And Winston out, yeah, it hurts them a little bit, but they also just don't have enough talent for my liking. McCoy, obviously, on the line is talented on defense, but then you got Mike Evans, who's a beast. I think Peyton Barber is going to be an interesting running back for them. I think he's going to be pretty good, but they don't have enough other talent in other places for me to be like, wow, this is a legit team this year. So I went 3-13 with them, and I don't like doing it because, I don't mind Tampa Bay. They have good fans, and they deserve a good team. It's fun when they have a good team, but they're just not looking good this year. It's not looking good for them. So that's the NFC South. NFC East, what? It's another mess. All these teams are capable of winning the division, but at the end of the day, only one can win. And you gotta pick it. You gotta pick who's gonna win the division. And someone's not gonna win. Someone's gonna get left out. So, this division, I got Dallas at 8-8, Giants at 8-8, Philadelphia at 11-5, and Washington at 6-10. So, Dallas, oh man, America's team. Dak Prescott, I think he's a good quarterback, but again, he kind of like some of the guys I was talking about in the AFC. He's not, and I think last year was a great example. And I understand it was only his second year. You got to kind of pump the brakes on beating him down a little bit, but they didn't have Zeke last year, for the first 6 games, I think it was. So what did they do? Meh. They're mediocre. I mean, they're just not. He's just not a guy that can carry the team when all eyes are on him and he needs to carry the team. When Zeke's running wild and they're on all cylinders, he's great. He can sling it around. When you have the threat of Zeke, people are they don't know what to do. You're keeping him honest, but when it's on him, I just don't know if I trust him enough yet. And that could change. He's, like I said, he's a second-year quarterback. You don't know what he's going to do. But I just don't see him. It's really going to depend on Zeke. If Zeke runs wild again, which he can, I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. I mean, that's obvious. But what might keep him from doing that, and that's a trickle-down effect because then it makes Dak not as good, is their line, which is by far the best offensive line in the NFL. There's no arguing that. 2 of their guys are hurt. One of them has a weird, illness, and he can't play right now, and another guy's down. And, when that line's not as good, Zeke can't run wild as easily. He's still good enough to do it, with a subpar line. But then Dak can't play as well because people more keyed in on the passing game. So it's just, I just can't see. He has to show me and prove to me that he can carry a burden of a team, or he can carry a team on his back. And I don't know if he can do that yet. So it'll be interesting to see. They can obviously win some more games and win more than 8 games. But I got to see it from Dak. I got to see more carrying the team. So then the Giants last year was just a mess. I mean, they were horrible, and they shouldn't have been, because again, 2 years ago they were 11-5. One of the best defenses in the NFL. Landon Collins is a beast. Colts should have drafted him. I will continue to tweet that. I tweet it all the time, and I will continue because they should have drafted him. So, anyway, their defense is great. They got some good young talent on defense, so it's going to make it even better. Beckham's back, which, I mean, obviously is a big gain. Sterling Shepard, I mean, he wasn't even in last year, so that's big. Evan Ingram, their tight end, if he shakes off this concussion thing and he's feeling better, and he can stay healthy the whole season, he's a beast too. I mean, I know he was kind of targeted more last year because of the whole injury thing on wide receivers, but he's more than capable of being a starting tight end in the NFL and being that guy. So, their offense is going to be so much better. I mean, and it's just they don't have the whole head coach thing. That was just a mess last year. They actually have a legit head coach this year. Well, from all accounts, from what we think. So they're going to be a lot better, but they still aren't. Oh, and obviously Barkley. That's pretty sad that I left that out. Barkley is, I think he's going to be like Ezekiel Elliott type of thing where you just know he's going to be good as soon as he gets in the NFL. Kind of like the quarterback thing I was talking about. Except for running backs, I feel like it's easier. You either can tell they're going to be a beast or they're not. So, but Barkley is going to be a huge boost to that offense, and they haven't had a legit running game since they won the Super Bowl in 2011. So, that's going to be a huge boost for them on offense. But they'll take a huge leap because they only won 3 games. So, 5 more for 8. But I got to see more improvements and better head coach play for me to want to put them even higher than that. So they'll be another interesting team. I mean, I hate to say 8-8 because that's kind of a cop-out, but again, that was kind of based on just when I was picking the games, and that's how many wins I counted and how many losses I counted. So it'll be interesting to see them in Dallas if they can go either side of that 8-8, see what happens. Philadelphia, defending Super Bowl champions. I think they take a bit of a step back. The only reason being mainly Wentz being out for a little bit, even though obviously Nick Foles is more than capable. He won a Super Bowl MVP, and he deserved it. But, and I know it's cliche, but you have that whole gunning for you mentality. Everyone's gunning for you now because you won the Super Bowl. So I think that does make an impact. Wentz being out for a little bit, we don't even know how long he's going to be out yet. I don't even think he's been cleared for contact and throwing and stuff yet, or contact. So, I mean, he can't really even do full stuff yet. So that'll be interesting. I'm a huge Wentz fan, though, so I really hope he comes back and he kills it because he's a great quarterback, great young quarterback. But yeah, so that, and Alshon Jeffrey's out for a little bit too. And I mean, he was a monster last year, and he's going to be out for a little bit. And that's going to hurt for Foles being in too, because Foles, won't have as many guys to throw to, obviously. So I think that's going to make a somewhat of an impact. Not enough, obviously, to make him do anything crazy. I still have him winning the division at 11-5, but I just see a little bit of a step back. And I mean, for most Super Bowl winners, that's usually what happens, just because of the whole mentality and all that. And they finally won, so they're still basking in that glory, which they should. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But, sometimes that can cause a little bit of a hangover. May not even be at the beginning of the season, may just be in general. I mean, I think the Falcons are probably going to beat them tonight in the opening game. But, it'll be interesting to see. But still have them a solid team, obviously. Their defense is still really good. Their team in general is just great. They have great team chemistry. Their offense is going to be good again. Ajayi, when Jeffrey comes back. They have Aguilar, who I thought kind of came on at the end of the season last year and had some good games in between, too. He needs to be a little more consistent, probably. But, they have their 3 running backs. Tight end, obviously, is still great. So, yeah, I see them taking a bit of a step back, but still being a really good, really solid playoff team. And possibly, Super Bowl team again. So then I have Washington at 6-10. And this is another one of those things, division. They just have a good division. And I just don't think they're quite as talented as the other teams in their division. And Alex Smith, in my opinion, is a step down from Kirk Cousins based on the ability to play quarterback. Now, the game managing part of it, yeah, you could probably, obviously, Alex Smith is one of the best, and I know that's cliche again, and I hate to say that because I like Alex Smith as a quarterback, but, I mean, it is what it is. Like, playoffs, I mean, when he gets there, he can't throw it downfield consistently and turn it loose when he needs to. And when teams take out certain aspects of your team, in the playoffs, like when defenses take out certain things, you got to be able to step up and perform. So I just think that downgrade, they have good skill position players. Geis getting hurt really hurts him at running back. But AP, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Jordan Reed's obviously a great tight end. I hope they throw to him more because he really deserved the ball a lot more last year, being one of the best tight ends in the NFL. I know he's hurt a little bit, but when he came back, Kirk never even threw the ball to him. I mean, I don't know, it was weird. Kirk Cousins just never threw the ball to him for some reason. So it'll be interesting to see when he, with Alex Smith, because Alex Smith likes tight ends a lot more and spreads the ball around because he's a great quarterback, great at doing that. But, yeah, just and their defense obviously has talent on it still. They have Kerrigan and Josh Norman and everything. But they just, they're a victim of a good division, just like some of these other teams. It's just hard to find wins for them, I mean, they play the Packers, teams like that, and they're on the road for some of those games, and their division games are hard, and it's just, it's tough. It's really tough. So I'm at 6-10, and that's mainly also just because their front office and all the crap they always have going on is just a mess. They have I think they have a decent coach, but everything else is just a mess. So yeah, I just can't see them doing any better than that. Finally, the NFC West. I have Arizona at 5-11, the Rams at 13-3, the 49ers at 9-7, and the Seahawks at 10-6. So Arizona, I'm going to say it again, they're kind of a victim of a good division and a division that's up for grabs. I wouldn't really say it's up for grabs, I guess, because the Rams are kind of clear-cut. But The Seahawks are still really good, and San Francisco's a lot better. So the division, it'll be interesting. After the Rams, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because there's so many teams that are capable. It's just whether they put it together or not, and they're all young and unproven. So Arizona, it's tough because of their quarterback. Bradford, he gets hurt a lot. We all know that. Rosen, I think, is going to be a pretty good quarterback, but will he even play? Probably, because Bradford will probably get hurt, as much as I hate to say that because I like Bradford. But I think Rosen will come in, but he'll just probably be pretty overwhelmed. And he's kind of a smaller guy, like not like height-wise, but just like kind of like like slender like me. Like, so it scares me because I don't know, can he withstand being hit a lot and all that kind of thing. Obviously, David Johnson will take some pressure off of him. One of the best running backs. He needs to stay healthy, though, so that'll be interesting to see. Larry Fitzgerald, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, is going to help. But again, and their defense losing Matthew, I think is a kind of a big deal. He wasn't like the superstar of their defense, but he was a good player. He's a star player, so that hurts them. Patrick Peterson's obviously still great. They have some decent linemen, but when they lost Campbell last year, that kind of hurt him too when Campbell went to Jacksonville. So that hurts a little bit. But so I have them 5-11. I just, I've always liked the Cardinals. I really like Larry Fitzgerald, but I just don't see him being able to get over some of the teams with their quarterback situation. It's just tough. It's really tough. So yeah. The Rams, absolutely stacked. I have them at 13-3. Their defense, I know it was a one-year thing, so they could be a one-year wonder, but I don't think they are, mainly because McVay is a beast of a coach, and he knows exactly how to use all the players he has in the right way. Goff, Gurley, all those guys. Now they have Cooks on offense. They have Woods on offense. Tight end is the only position where I'm like, I don't know, but that doesn't really matter because they are going to figure out a way to do it because McVay's a freaking beast. Defense is stacked. I mean, they got Ndamukong and Sue. They have Peters from the Chiefs. They have Donald, obviously. I mean, their defense is just ridiculously good, and it's so hard not to pick a team when their team is that stacked. A team like this when their team is that stacked. And I know it's the whole thing. Everyone's high on them this year, but I mean, I just don't see how you can't be with everything they have going for them. I think they're one of I don't know if I'd go as far to say the favorite, mainly just because Goff has only had one great year so far, but they are one of the favorites in the NFC. No questions, no doubt. It's easy to see. So you got them, and then you have, let's see, have the 49ers are interesting. I have them at 9-7, and that may be generous in a lot of people's eyes, but I mean, they went 6-10 last year after starting like 0-11 or no, 0-10, because when Garoppolo came in, they didn't lose games. So, I mean, he's the difference maker. I mean, I think he's another guy that's going to be a stud in a few years. He's already pretty good. I mean, I know everyone's going to say, oh, well, it's a small sample size. They didn't play the greatest teams. Again, it's that thing where you watch a guy play, you just have this gut feeling. And I just think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's going to be great. So, and their defense is young, but they're up. They're kind of like the Bears. They're up and coming, except they have a more established quarterback, in my opinion. So that's why I have them at 9-7. Again, that could be 7-9 to 9-7 range. But I think they're good enough to be 9-7. Running backs are good. Receivers are Goodwin and Garcon. I know Garcon's a little older, but I still think they're solid. Helps Garoppolo out. So yeah, I think they're going to be one of those up and coming teams. I think they're going to be pretty good this year and in the future. Seattle, it's rough because they lost all their defensive players. All their big time guys, pretty much for the most part, are gone. Thomas is going to come back, said he's going to play now for the whole year, and I think he's a guy, he's not going to take plays off or anything. He's just always 100 miles per hour. He's going to be great. So I think they'll be solid there. I still think their defense is decent because they have a lot of guys that they kind of filled in with that have played. Some of them have played before, and I think they're going to be pretty good. So I think they'll be a pretty good team. But I still think they're good enough to be 10-6. Baldwin's a beast, receiver. I know he's a little bit dinged up right now, but I think when he comes back, he'll be good. Curse is good. Wilson's Wilson. I mean, he carried that team last year, and they were on the cusp of a playoff berth. So, and that was with Sherman out, and a lot of those guys were already out injured anyway. So it'll be interesting. I think they're going to be a pretty good team though. So, anyway, so to go through the seeds. Sorry, I kind of got to rambling on this one. Going through the seeds, I have the Rams at the 1 seed, Falcons 2 seed, Eagles 3 seed, and they beat the Packers in tiebreaker from common opponents record. Packers are 4th, and then the Vikings are the 5th first wild card 5th seed. Saints are the 2nd wild card 6th seed. And as far as the playoffs go, I have the Steelers, or let's see here. Well, I don't have my playoff picks written down. So I'm going to do another video of my playoff picks, Super Bowl picks, all that stuff shortly. I'm going to go in and get my stuff uploaded so I can actually find it. I forgot to write it down on this paper. So another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry I kind of rambled on this one, but I just kind of get into it when I talk about the NFL because I'm a huge nerd for the NFL and I love football. So, yeah, I'll be back in a little bit with my playoff Super Bowl picks. See you guys then.